Symbolic capital is important for your business, but why? And why is it now more important than ever? Today's guest is going to tell us just that.
Welcome to Fox Talks Business Podcast with your host, Tanya Fox. Tanya has been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, owning retail, service, and franchise. She holds no punches and is never afraid to talk about the nitty-gritty. Together, you'll explore the good, the bad, and the motivational of business life, turning obstacles into opportunities and failures into successes. So grab your favorite drink and let's have some fun. Here's your host, speaker, crafter, and collaborator, Tanya Fox.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Ronan. I'm so excited to have you.
Tanya, thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. It's going to be quite a ride, I think.
So you actually have had an interesting ride to get to the point where you are. So tell us a little bit about your backstory before you got to this spot.
Well, one of the first things I would say that I have a complete non-career. I've never been strategic in almost anything I've done, and it worked out pretty well, to be honest. I've had a number of jobs where I've looked around and thought, if I'm here in 5 years' time, just shoot me. And it's been a light bulb moment to say, you know what, I've got to quit, because if I don't, I'll stay. And you know, so many people have that where they just get stuck and just think that's that. So interesting enough, that happened to me late teens, early 20s, and I started traveling the world. I got a job on a cruise line, and I thought, oh, this is amazing, dream job, traveling the world, getting paid to do it, fantastic. Unfortunately, within 8 weeks of being on the ship, it sunk in a huge storm off the coast of South Africa. While I was on there, I sent like 600 people. And not only did we sink in the middle of this storm, but the worst part about it was that all of the senior officers and crew abandoned us to our fate. Now, at that time, as I said, had no career. I was working in the gift shop, one of the lowest paid people. But the chief engineer, the staff captain, the radio officer, they all left in this boat and abandoned us to our fate. And lucky enough, myself and some amazing people stepped up. They had been trained in it. It wasn't their position, but they stepped up and became real leaders. And we, luckily enough, because we sank so slowly, we were able to get everybody off that ship. And what it taught me at a very young age, I was 23, was that although we have people in leadership and we have people in these roles with these titles, leadership still has to be earned, because these people were paid to do a job. They were supposedly the people that were our leaders, and they massively failed in that position. Fast forward, I did that for another 9 years, traveled the world, and then eventually started my own events business and started a couple of the companies, which kind of led me to where I am today. So yeah, at each point, I've never strategically gone, this is what I'm going to do. I've just gone the opposite and said, I don't want to do this anymore. Let me go and find something else.
And that, keeps life interesting because it led you to the cruise ship, not a lot of people have that story.
No, the whole of life really is about curiosity and looking for new things and not settling. And when you do that, all sorts of opportunities, all sorts of new things come up. And we're going to touch a little bit on, you want to touch on mindset. That's just part of it, is the ability to start to be curious, to question your own assumptions, to look at the things that you're doing that aren't working and saying, okay, well, this isn't working for me. I don't want to do this anymore. What should I really do? And that takes some people of courage. I've told this story a couple of times and people have said, well, how can you just quit a job? How can you do that? Well, the fear for me has been, I don't want to get to the end of my life and go, whenever that might be, and it was almost finished at 23, and go, why did I do this for 5-10 years? Why did I bang my head against a brick wall? So when they're asking me that, they're coming from a limiting belief that they go, well, how can you possibly do that? I'm coming from the other way and going, how can you possibly stay just because it's safe when you hate what you do, or you hate the environment, or you hate your working organization? So that's just, to me, is all about mindset.
Yeah. And being in that situation too, I guess it would have really transformed your opinion of leadership, because we hear, like, I come from a sailing family, right? So it was always like, whoever's sailing is the last to get off, right? The
Yeah.
captain goes down with the boat kind of mentality, right? You help everybody else, and that's just what happens. So it must have really formed a different view of what you wanted to be when you became a leader.
Initially, I just ignored it as a life lesson, and because of my attitude, I just told all the funny stories. So many
Right.
funny things happened at the time that I was able to regale people with all these great stories. Oh, this happened. Like, really? Like, yeah, amazing. But I know from that point onwards, I often questioned authority. And I would, people say, well, we do this. And I go, well, why? Why do you do that? Or can you prove to me? So I became slightly rebellious and pushed back on people that said, well, this is the way it's always been done. This is the way it should be done. So it definitely gave me that confidence to push back on certain people, especially inside of you when you know it's wrong. It gives you that permission to say, hang on a second, just because you've got the 3 stripes on your shoulder, just because you're the CEO, just because you're my manager, doesn't automatically give you that trust or that respect. You've still got to earn it. So that, yeah, it was a great lesson in that leadership kind of role. And sometimes, just like everything, you look at what you don't want to figure out what you do want. There's a thing called reverse goal setting. Like, some people set these goals of, I want to do this, or I want to create this habit. You can do the opposite. You say, like, what don't I want anymore? How can I just cut away all the stuff that I don't like in my life? So yeah, it's sometimes just a different way of looking things.
And I think it's true what you said about, mindset and limiting beliefs, because I think a lot of people have that in their careers. I remember when I had a stable job. My parents both worked in the government. That was the mindset of my family, right? You worked in the government, you worked in the military. That's what you did for your life,
Yes.
period. And so when I decided that I wanted to venture out, there was sort of that fear of, is this the right thing to do? Because I really have no idea what I'm doing. And in hindsight, I'm very glad I did it, because I just kind of jumped and went, well, I'll figure it out as I go. But you said that you had experienced that. So tell us a little bit about how you got over your mindset and limiting beliefs.
There's never one epiphany or moment for me personally. It's of so many different beliefs. What we all know is that we tell stories. Seth Godin has this amazing thing, is that you'll sometimes believe a story that someone else tells you. You'll often believe a story that your friends and family tell you, but you'll always believe the story you tell yourself. And
Right.
this is true in business and in life. We tell ourselves a story, we tell our customers a story, and then often things change, but we're still telling that same story. We still have beliefs from our childhood that no longer serve us, but we've never ever tested those assumptions. They've just been part of what we are. You mentioned it right there. You just said your family had expectations around roles and what you were supposed to do, and you can buy into that and go, well, this is me, this is my trajectory, or you can say, maybe that's for you and that's not for me. So your ability to work on your beliefs is the core thing that really gives you the greatest growth in any business, in personal, combination of those two things. And without it, you kind of get stuck and you keep bumping up into these limiting beliefs. Now, I know at the moment, mindset's a huge thing. You see it all over social media, and everyone goes, yeah, it's a cliche. I know that, I know that. But what we do know is that we're great at pointing out other people's limiting beliefs. People say, oh, I could never do that. And you put that word and say, well, never? What do you mean by that? Well, I could never do what you do. I could never quit my job and do something else. Oh, really? And once you expose those beliefs to other people, they go, oh yeah, it's just a belief. It's just something that, my parents had that same job for 40 years. I believe that I should have had that, stable job, steady job, career. And only when you test those beliefs. And my point about this is that it's really, really hard to see your own faults and your own beliefs that are holding you back. So at some stage, unless you are really, really self-aware, you need someone else to come in and to test those assumptions, to push back on you. It's what coaching is all about. It's what mentoring is all about. It's the ability for someone else to call you on your own BS, to to push those boundaries, and it's incredibly hard to do it yourself. So when everybody's on social media going, yeah, I know about mindset, I know about that, ask them this one question: when's the last time you had a bit of truth telling with somebody else who called you out on it, who really pushed your boundaries, who gave you a different way of thinking? And I guarantee the answer for the majority of people is none in the last 12, 18 months, 2 years. So they're saying, yeah, I know it, but they're not, because they're not proving it, they're not testing themselves.
And I think that that's so true, is that we don't, it's almost that, we've, like you had said, we start to believe our own stories of stuff that we can't do, or things that we can't accomplish, or why we can't fulfill a dream or a goal that we want to, because it's just easier that way. It's more comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. And right now we're in this huge, unprecedented change. Never in the history of us have we ever had anything like this, where it's affected everybody, and it's affected people in different ways. I was reading an article yesterday that said, some people are right, double income, working from home, great. We're saving more money than we ever have, because we're not going out and spending it on restaurants and new clothes and all those things that we can easily be distracted on. Other people have been incredibly impacted, having to go back and live with their parents, 26-year-old guys that used to going out drinking and nightclubbing every night now. So we're all incredibly affected. So it's given us, in some ways, a bit of a wake-up call. What's really important to us? What will the future of work look like after we come back? Are we going to settle for this casualization of labor, where the second the company says, well, we no longer need you, then they get rid of you? So there are, almost everything's on the table now. Your ability to check your beliefs, to check what was really important to you, and redefine what both work and what's important to you.
And I think that's true. I love what you said, that everything is on the table now, because I think that that's so true, and such a beautiful way to look at what's going on in the world right now. Really, everybody's faced with, which they always were, but now even more than ever, endless opportunities to do stuff, because everybody's almost revamping the way they do everything in business. Do you find that that's the same as well?
Absolutely. For a lot of people, we all know change is hard, right? Let's not discount that and say it's easy. You just got to change. It's not. We are creatures of habit, and therefore we look to what comfortable for us. So our expectation is, we've got this certain level of income, or we've got this certain level of comfort. Why would we push outside of that? But what I see is that for several people, there's limiting beliefs, and there's also willful blindness. We kind of know deep down, this isn't working for us. This is not what I want to do. This is not where I see my business going. But we just choose to ignore it. And at that point, sometimes we're almost complicit when we refuse to address some of the challenges and some of the actions. And that's why I said someone externally to call out some of your own BS, to point out those things and have some of that truth saying is really important. And to see what is your purpose, what is your real vision, where do you really want to be, and what are those limiting beliefs that getting in the way of that? Like, so many people just look at tactics. Like, we've all been guilty of this. You look at, there's so much information out there on the internet now. 25 years ago, Bill Gates wrote a book called Content is King. That's no longer true. It's the complete opposite of that. We are drowning in content, and we're lacking context. So you follow your favorite guru on social media, and he all tells 10,000 people, do this and you'll 10x your revenue, or whatever that is. And everyone kind of blindly follows that. But is that their purpose? Is that really them? And secondly, how does that apply to them? Where's the context? Where's the nuances? Where are they actually bumping up against their limiting beliefs? So they might read it and might go, yeah, that's true. But they go, actually, it's not for me, because I can't do that. So we're not short of tactics. We're not short of strategies. We're not short of great ideas. What we are short of is the beliefs that we could actually do that, and the context of how does that really apply to me? Where am I stuck? And when you can start to address those beliefs, that's when the huge shifts happen in business. Not, I just need another strategy or another tactic that's going to grow my business.
There's so much in that. Oh my God, that was amazing. So tell us a little bit about the idea of trust, because like you were saying about the content and the context, we're sort of inundated with so much stuff that's out there. And that the word of trust, we hear that so much. You need people to know, like, and trust you. That seems to be sort of the cliche line that has been going around a lot. Tell us what the idea of trust is to you and why you feel it's more important now than ever.
Well, first of all, it's not a cliche if you do it correctly. It's
Right.
only a cliche if you sprout it, like you've said someone else say, and then you don't follow through with those values. To me, marketing has become now this very, very transactional. We're spending more and more content, more and more information out there to convince fewer customers to actually buy from us. Um, and when you do that, you're not building up any kind of trust. All you're
Right.
really doing is transactionally saying, hey, someone's got to buy my product. And I've had to spend a lot of time, effort, and money to convince them that what I've got is great. And certainly if it doesn't match the hype, it doesn't match the 10x, I'm going to triple your business overnight, blah, 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 the 7 secrets, then you've spent all that time and effort to build a customer that really is not going to go and recommend 3 others, right? Because you've spent all this time and effort to create a transactional relationship with them rather than a trust. So in an economic paradigm, trust really is you exchange some money, you get something that's in return, great, that's easy to measure. But there's this whole thing around what I call symbolic capital, which is a conscious or a quantum amount of trust. Because if you look at any kind of business owner or even business, there's so many opportunities to increase that trust. Trust is at every single point of a connection with them. And it's either acknowledged, you can say, well, it's really only just about the money, which is the economic one. Or you
Right.
can say, well, every time that I deal with someone, I have a chance I'm either increasing that trust with them or I'm chipping away at it. And it's why consultants and people that sell knowledge struggle so much, is because they don't realize that each time that they kind of under deliver and they've overpromised and something doesn't happen and something slips, eventually all that trust they built up when the customer first went, yeah, I love what you're talking about, I love your mission, I love your proposal, this is great, that they've chipped that away and eventually it's gone and they leave. So we don't treat customers with enough trust like they are the most important thing. And if I build up more and more trust, they become advocates and they go and tell more people and they stay with me longer and they're not going to shop on price. I've got a friend who works in the SEO space for one of the major online hotel booking companies. Right? And I was talking to him at the very start of COVID-19 and the outcome. And what he said to me, he said that, first of all, our business is decimated because people aren't traveling. He said, but secondly, what we've done is we've spent the last 5-10 years telling people to shop around purely on price, with the lowest price, with the lowest price. So he said, we've trained all our customers to only think about price. So now, our brand is decimated. And secondly, people aren't loyal to us because we've trained them to shop on price. We've created no other trust than just we're going to be the lowest price and transactional. So you have the ability in any business of what you want to achieve and what you want to look for is to improve that symbolic capital, that hidden trust, which is your credibility, your reputation, your expertise, your delivery, your experience, your IP, whatever that is, that's your brand equity. And when you build that up, and it takes time, it takes money, it takes effort, but if you consciously build that up, then you're far less likely to struggle in a downturn like we're experiencing and will experience. And you're building a business that has this equity in it that you don't see. It's not on the balance sheet per se, but you know that in 6 months' time, your customers are not going to jump. They're going to be loyal. They're going to refer other people. So you know you've got this ongoing future revenue that isn't relying just on transactional. It's all based on trust.
And I think that that's so key, especially the time that we're going in right now, where there has been so long, there's been this struggle of just, like you said, being the cheapest, having the cheapest price on your shelf, or, you know, trying to play that game, not realizing that that return customer, that customer that I always said word of mouth was my favorite advertising, because it was so truthful. And quite often, when I had a retail store, if someone would say, go here, people were more likely to come to see me because, you know, Becky said to come and see me than because they saw an ad or my business card or whatever. But really concentrating on building that, I think is key. So what are some of the ways that a business, or, you know, that an entrepreneur or a business can start working on making sure that they're building that trust? I know there's lots of ways, but is there one tip that you could give that people could start implementing right now for that?
I just think at any touch point they've got with anybody, they can just ask them that one kind of question. Am I building trust with these people that's above and beyond transactional? And whatever that looks like, that could be your suppliers, that could be your customers, that could be your employees. It could be a combination of all of those things. But if you're asking just, you know, if you're looking for some truth speaking, that one simple thing will start to figure out, where am I not meeting people's expectations? Where am I not increasing trust? Because we know that, everyone has said, you know, know, like, and trust, but trust is the biggest one. So if you can start to increase that trust and figure out where it's most broken, that's your starting point. So there isn't one, you've got to start here, you've got to start there. It's just asking that question. Every organization will be different. Again, don't like to give general advice that means nothing to anybody. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
No.
But absolutely, asking that one thing. I see so many people right now is a time for collaboration more than ever. I'm a huge proponent of it. Most small business owners go broke, not because they didn't get enough customers, but they just ran out of energy. They try and get one more customer, one more customer, one more customer. If you can collaborate and you can partner up with people that have 10 of your ideal customers, and build proper relationships with those people, then you have a huge competitive advantage over someone else that isn't getting those 10 a year, whatever that looks like. But that requires you to really build trust with someone else, not just transactional. So many people that I meet on LinkedIn, and I'm trying to build some kind of connection with them. I'm a huge connector. I'll just connect to the people. I go, oh, you need to be on Tanya's show. She's amazing. And I'll send people your way. Or you need to speak to this person because what they do, you're not a good fit for me. You know, you're not in my wheelhouse perfect customer, but speak to this person because I had a great conversation with them. I have all these amazing conversations that build up my network. But then I get people that message me, and then the first thing they see is they're selling me, oh yeah, I turn over $5 million and I do this and this and this. And it's all about them, and it's all about how great they are, and it's all about hey, we should work together, without ever building any kind of trust with me. So, you know, you immediately switch off. We all do it. Every time you go networking, the person that spends 80% talking about themselves, just go, oh, Jesus, really? You know? So you look to build trust. The first thing you can do is just listen to people, like genuinely listen to them. And when you do, you build trust immediately build trust, because so many other people are just really, well, as you're talking to them, they're just nodding their head and waiting to come up with their great answer, their great solution, or what about this, or I'm in that. So they're not really listening. They're just waiting. They're just pausing before they can get their conversation in. So I've seen amazing people build trust. And if you look at the people that everyone admires, people like Nelson Mandela, JFK, those kinds of people, interesting enough, whenever I hear stories about them and people that have met them, one of the things they say is that when I spoke to that person, I felt like I was the only person in the room, that they had my 100% undivided attention, and you focus completely on them. That's how you build trust.
And I think, you know, it goes part to people, especially these days, they want to be heard, and customers want to be heard. They don't want to be sold to. They want to know that their business, that them spending money with you matters and is going to continue to matter.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we never want to take customers for granted, and most of us feel we don't. But if we're truly honest with ourselves, we can have that hard conversation. Okay, well, where am I just not serving them? what would it look like if, 1 in 3 of my customers referred someone else, that I over delivered, that I stepped up and I surprised and delight them. One of the things that I talk about in my organization, and I'm still working on this and trying to improve that, is how do you surprise and delight people? Because that's what moves them. That's what you said, Tanya, people used to recommend you. I'm sure somewhere there you used to surprise and delight them. There'd be something you would do that go above and beyond. Wow, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I used to always do handwritten letters to thank them if they referred somebody, or for just coming into the store, or if they signed up for our email. I would always take the time to physically, like with a pen, handwrite a
Yeah.
personal message to each of them. And to me, it was just important because you never get that kind of mail anymore, right? So it was always exciting for me to get, when my mom would send me a birthday card. And so I just wanted to always pass that along.
That is awesome. In fact, I read, there's a book on my shelf just about that. The guy who has that send out cards business talks about the exact same thing. Yeah. You massively stand out because you're doing something that no one else is doing. Everyone's saying, thanks for your business, but you're proving it. And yeah, you're surprise and delight. So does that cost a lot of money? Not particularly, depending on the size of your business. Does it take some time and effort? Yes. But you're doing something to increase that trust and build some surprise and delight within that. So it's something that anyone can do, but hardly anybody does.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your business that you have now.
So I'm a co-founder in a business called Trnsform. So we work with organizations to dramatically change their beliefs and increase trust within an organization, which is why I've been talking about it partly, because it's just so exciting. And it's the ability to look at anything within an organization and figure out where are the gaps between what you want, your expectations, and what's actually happening. And they all come through to beliefs. We believe it's not possible. So how is it, I always ask this question, how is it that someone can join a company and within a week know exactly how everything's done around there? Now, it's not written down. It's not necessarily in the manual of the process. This is what we do. This is everything. If they look around and they match the beliefs to everyone else. So if you join a company where the CEO is incredibly dynamic, we're the best at what we do. We're number one. We're amazing. That belief transfers through, and everyone thinks the same thing, right? We're the best web design company out here, in
Right.
Minneapolis, whatever it is. If you come in and go, yeah, we're okay, then everyone will adopt that belief, and that instantly permeates through an organization. How is it that so many mergers and acquisitions happen, and the second they happen, they trash the value of a company? It's not. So they go in, they go, right, we're gonna cut out there's 2 operating systems. We're gonna put them all onto one. Great. But this is the best process. So everyone's gonna follow this same process. Great. In paper, it sounds fantastic. What they never ever address is the beliefs within those organizations, the culture, which is really just about the beliefs. And when those two clash, and that's a huge part of that trust, that symbolic capital I talk about, the thing that you can't put on a balance sheet, but is there. Most organizations completely ignore that. They just go, okay, we'll have one meeting. We'll say, you used to be in company A. We're now in company B because we've bought you out. We're bigger than you. This is how it's done around here. Get to work. And everybody internally goes, well, I don't believe in their values. I don't believe in what they do. It's not how we do it. And they leave, they become dissatisfied. So it's a huge thing that no one ever addresses. And yet it's the core thing that the reason that they were so successful is that they had this culture and this belief around what they were doing was important and was valuable, and that just got trashed and never recognized.
Yeah. And I think that buy-in from, employees is so important because they're essentially your frontline workers. They're your word of mouth when they're, out there and interacting with people.
Yeah, and they're the ones creating that trust. That if they trust the organization, that shows through to the customer service. So if you've got on your wall, you've got these are our core values we do, and then you work down with the frontline workers, and they look up and they go, that's rubbish. Every policy, every procedure, everything we do, half of them don't match that. I don't believe it. So that permeates through and to the culture within those organizations. So we look to realign all those beliefs, ensure that happens. And the cool part about this is that we then add AI technology to map those beliefs and to know that it's working, and to give an organization a dashboard to say, here are the things that are most important to you. This is what we're going to measure. We know it's culturally internally or externally, we know it's your customers. And we integrate that across all of their existing technology. So their CRM, their email, their social media, any listening points we have within an organization, we then use AI technology to ensure that they are creating greater alignment with that organization, and it matches all the way down. Increase trust, increase the alignment, increase the purpose organizations. And right now, as we said, we've talked about this huge shift. So many people now are going to want to work from home. They don't want to go back to spending an hour and a half in the car each way to go and work for an organization. So your ability now to really ensure that your employees are engaged, even remotely, and that they are still aligned with your organization, absolutely critical. If they weren't aligned before, this is just going to amplify that. So before, they would have gone, well, stuck in this cubicle, don't really like this company, but hey, the boss is just over there, I'm going to stay and do my work. But they'll still find ways not to, really be engaged. Now it's going to be even more pertinent that they are engaged, that they are on board, that everyone's rowing together, because the uncertainty of what business looks like in the next couple of years is going to be huge.
And I think it's an opportunity for business owners to take a look at different ways that they can structure their business, because a lot of them were forced into this, like forced into figuring out how their employees can work from home, what that's going to look like. And it's sort of like everybody has this great beta test that they've been able to do with their organizations to go, is this something that can actually work? What's our production been like? How has everybody been dealing with it? And I think it's a time, if businesses take the opportunity to sit back and assess what has been happening and what's been working, it could be a really interesting time going forward for them.
Exactly. There's one organization that we're with, and they had 800 employees, and they were like, oh, well, we can't, these people can never work from home because they actually work in investment. So part of their is that they're in front of the screens, they need to know what's happening. Within a week, all 800 of them were working from home. There was 4 people in the office out of 800. Yes, you're right. This huge, great experiment came on them where management were telling them the story that, no, it's not possible. You can't work from home. That's the story, and that's the belief that everyone in the organization was saying. That got disrupted, that got tested. They saw a big spike in productivity. Whether that will be maintained is unlikely, because people still need the social interaction of work. Not everyone's suited to work from home. It takes a certain type of person that can do that all the time. In fact, the majority of people that can work from home for an organization tending to run their own business. They're self-starters, they're self-motivated, they've worked, probably in isolation before in the gig economy, or they run their own business, so they know what that's like. For a lot of other people, they really need that social interaction and that trust. And it'll be a hybrid. We'll go back to a hybrid of somewhere in between, where people will say, well, I'll work from home for 2 days a week.
Right.
So yes, that huge experiment, already seen it happening, and already saw the whole organization shift their beliefs and their mindset around what is possible.
And I think, if they look at it right, it's such a huge opportunity, because so many people these days are trying to figure out that balance of, work, home life, fun sort of thing. And this could be an opportunity, I think, for businesses to sort of capitalize on what more they could offer their employees by having that, work from home, work in the office sort of balance.
Yeah, that comes down to that growth or fixed mindset, and all about, we're going back to beliefs again. You have that, and you successfully said it, you have that opportunity. So you see it as a crisis or opportunity, all in the language. It's just how you view the world, or how you can change your view of the world to look at those 2 things. So it's never binary. Our beliefs change over time. They're never fixed. They shouldn't be. So you massively, people have that opportunity right now to go, okay, what does the future work look like for our organization? We've been forced into this. What's the upside? What are the downside? And if you can have those intelligent questions around that, you can start to figure out, okay, well, what's going to work best for us, and also, yeah, save costs. If you can reduce your headcount in an office by a third and downsize that, absolutely. If you know that people are going to not spend 3 hours, half an hour, hour and a half each way traveling, and work from home a couple of days a week, you're going to increase their engagement, their loyalty, their ability to do their best work for your company. Absolutely, yeah, it's a huge opportunity.
Oh, you've been such a wealth of information. I have like pages of notes and I've been trying to casually jot down as we were talking. So I'm so excited to be able to go through this. If people are interested in talking with you more, or even seeing how your company might be able to help them, where's the best place for them to go to find you?
Our company name is Trnsform.io without the A, Trnsform.io. And also I'm Ronan Leonard on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. It's my preferred social media platform. I can have real conversations there and get to know people and engage with some of my content, or just stalk me from there if they want to. Yeah, that's the best way to go. You get a sense of people from their profile, although I do always like to say we're never our resume. So that's the best place to find me.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed it, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Tanya, thanks for having me. It's been a blast just to come on your show and just to give people probably a perspective that isn't something they might have considered, or just a different viewpoint. That's all it is. You just want to expand your horizon and your mind and figure out what works best for you.
Absolutely. I really took so much out of this episode with talking with Ronan. My mind was just buzzing after talking with him. I had so many ideas and so many new thoughts were coming into my head. And I feel very fortunate that I have the job that I get to do this and that I get to share these people with you as well. So thank you so much for tuning in and listening. I've been receiving a lot of emails from you guys about the feelings and emotions that you've been having around what's been going on in the world for the last little while. And Ronan's story really got me to start thinking that, like his experience with the ship, in your experience right now with your business, you have a choice on how you want to view this. You can choose to look at this as something that is absolutely devastating, or change your thought process and think of what's going on as something that is experimental. You get to reinvent your business. You get to try things you've always wanted to try. Experiment maybe with those new websites, or selling online, or stepping away from your business and maybe only working 3 days a week. We are in a very interesting time right now where we get to reinvent what our new normal is going to look like. And it's all based on how you want to perceive your experiences. So take some time today to step back from everything and look for the good and exciting moments and ways that you can change and restructure your business going forward. And I want to hear about them. One of the other things that Ronan talked about was collaboration. And you guys all know that that word is something that gets my imagination juices just flowing. And I think that we are in a very interesting time right now where not only is it easier to start collaborations because everybody's looking, to work with people and looking for new ideas, but it's also a time that collaborations are going to be more important than ever, not only for those businesses that are struggling, but for those companies that are going in those new directions, that are reinventing themselves, that are stepping out of what their old normal used to be. So Every Tuesday, still 9:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on both my Facebook and Instagram pages, I am going live and talking to you about different ways that small businesses can use collaborations. So I would love for you guys to send me your questions, your comments, your ideas, so that I can share them with the rest of the audience and maybe even give you some tips and tricks that I've learned over the past 20 years of using collaborations for my business. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And whether you're looking at doing a new collaboration, whether you're reinventing your business, whether you're trying to figure out what your content is, or whether you're just trying to figure out what Symbolic Capital is and where yours is at, make sure that you're having fun. Because if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?